because this is so important, especially right now, during so many changes that are here and everywhere. And that little picture, I'll remind you, in the lower corner was when we held our Sunday service after the fire here. So Unity of the West Side, I like to believe, is like a Marine. And the Marines, one of their mottos, aside from hoorah and semper fi, is adapt, improvise, and overcome. So in that vein of thinking and belief, let's just be quiet for a moment as we think about and know that everything coming to us is for our greater good. Everything happening to us, through us, with us, for us, is for our greater good. And as we experience that connection with God, with that divine light, let us just feel the power of that. The power of that love in us, in every cell of our being, between the cells of our being. The space between is infused with love and light and grace. And we know we can use this belief to heal our bodies, heal our relationships, heal our minds. Let's take a deep breath in and an equally strong exhale. And we know that God is, and all is well. Amen. So as I noted, this talk I pulled out of my file folder from 2017, and it was a Mother's Day talk. And you all have heard a lot of things about Mother's Day since, and how it started and all of those things. So we're not going to talk about that today. But I did want to give the rest of the talk as well. So you probably know, I'm the president of the board here at Unity of the West Side, and I've been involved in leadership here for a long time. But I'm just a truth student, just like everybody. And I love when Reverend Carol says, the greatest thing that we can know is that we don't know anything, really. We can study and learn and grow and apply all of the principles that we're learning here, but there's so much more, there's so much deeper that we can go. And so I wanted to share with you a little bit of my spiritual journey so that you understand partly where I'm coming from and why I think being of service is so important. So my mother's family was Mormon handcart pioneers from Scotland, and they came over in 1852 to join Brigham Young in Salt Lake City. And I've always been very appreciative of my Mormon values: family, community, charity, service, determination, keeping eyes towards Zion, and putting your shoulder to the wheel. We had a little song that we used to sing, put your shoulder to the wheel, push along. My mother's family was very high profile in the community. My grandfather was the commissioner of finance and was elected to become a Utah congressman, but he died of pneumonia before he could serve that service. But humble in business. Murdoch Grocery, my mother's name is Bonnie Murdoch, Murdoch Grocery was a family business, and during the Depression, they would anonymously leave bags of groceries on doorsteps. Deseret Industries is a Mormon organization, and I remember truckloads of food and clothing and furniture and other goods pulling up to the homes of our family neighbors who were in need. And I was also, and continue to be, fascinated by the esotericism and symbology that is in that group. The golden oxen, the bee and the beehive, the Star of David, which is used in all of the sacred architecture in Mormon temples. So we weren't strict Mormons at all. In fact, my dad was never converted, although those young missionaries really tried hard. I remember him sitting in his wingback chair with these two young Mormon missionaries from, Iowa or wherever they were from. And he'd sit in his chair, and he had his cigarette, and he had his hand, his leg over it, and he had his, vodka tonic in the other hand. And they tried so hard. Mr. Leonard, we just want to share the gospel with you. And he goes, okay, let me tell you a few stories. And so they would just be fascinated, by the end of their visit. They were a little surprised. They didn't expect that. And my mom was what they call a Jack Mormon, which is that you go to Sunday school and you go to church and you do the things you're supposed to do, but she did drink coffee and she did like her wine, and so we weren't really strict. But some of the essence of that upbringing was important to me. And my parents had books at their bedside. One of them was The Power of Positive Thinking by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, classic Unity. Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. And they had the Daily Word. So those things were already kind of becoming infused. Now, when my dad died when I was 15, mental blocks in school started coming into the picture. And that led me to study TM, Transcendental Meditation, when I was 16. And Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who founded that path, we were exposed to that through our next door neighbor, who was one of the Maharishi's right-hand men. And this opened me to new ways of being and experiencing, and taught me consciousness of the moment. And then when I married, we explored alternative thought and spirituality. We studied the Theosophy of Blavatsky, the Fourth Way of P.D. Ouspensky, the mysticism of Gurdjieff and the Enlightened Masters, Rudolf Steiner, alternative educational models, neuropathy, veganism, holistic health, and homeopathy, and self-realization fellowship. We used to go to the Lake Shrine up in the Palisades, which survived the fire, by the way. And I find it interesting now that I have such resonance with Myrtle Fillmore, because she and Charles also studied all of those things. They were in touch with these masters and these teachers at the turn of that century and being influenced by them. But they all have a common thread, which we create our own experience through the power of the mind and the understanding and experience of oneness with spirit, with the body temple, with nature, with the earth, and with one another. And then we moved to Culver City in 1992 during the riots, and we bought a home here way back then and found a spiritual home here at what was Westside Unity Church at the time. My son Alex was supported by letters and packages sent to him from the people of Westside Unity when he was a U.S. Marine in Iraq in 2003. Maxine Wood was sort of behind that effort. My daughter Natalie was the youth Sunday school teacher and coordinator for a number of years when she was only a teenager. Her daughter, my granddaughter Clara, attends Unity of Roseville up in the Sacramento area. And my daughter Anna wasn't too active, but when I asked her what she remembers about her growing up in Unity, she says she recalls the lessons and the food. And then my daughter Lily, who I think a lot of you have met also, she was the church administrator here, and she was born when I was still, very active here. She's 28 now. So anyway, so that's sort of a little bit of background and why I really do feel a strong resonance with service here at Unity of the West Side. So in the topics for inspiration and thinking about Mother and Divine Mother, we look at Mother Nature, Mother Earth, inspiration from some of my mother's sayings, such as the disciplinary ones. Wipe that smirk off your face, young lady, or I'll do it for you. You're gonna do it whether you like it or not. You're gonna eat it whether you like it or not. And one that still perplexes me, I've shared with you before. You're gonna like it whether you like it or not. I don't know. It still doesn't make sense. But then, of course, there were a lot of positive, uplifting phrases as well. Remember your ancestors. Respect your elders. Rise and shine, Palatine. And kill them with kindness, which has come in handy. So I landed on divine motherhood for the talk. And we all are able and do express the qualities of motherhood, divine feminine, the divine mother, as caretakers, as friends, being loving, giving, considerate, being of service to others, and being kind. Each of you expresses the creativity of divine mind, manifesting and giving birth to divine ideas. Charles Fillmore defines divine motherhood as the brooding, nourishing element of divine mind, in which spiritual ideas are brought to fulfillment. Every culture in the world and every world religion has a symbolic representation of Divine Mother. Divine Mother is called by many names and is pictured in countless forms and symbols. Of course, we have the Virgin Mary, Blessed Mother of Jesus in Catholicism and Christianity, Shekinah, the womb of creation in Jewish faith, Fatima, the open hand and healer of the heart, Patashakti, the supreme name of Divine Mother in the Hindu religion. And the qualities of Mother God are consistent across all religions and all beliefs. Grace, love, nourishment, nurturing, compassion, creativity, the ability to unify, all represent the expression of Divine Mother through us. So the kindness movement, you think we need a movement for kindness, but apparently we have. And it's out there, and it's been around for quite a few years now, with actual training, actual organizations starting to help people learn how to be kind. So we'll take it. We'll take it, whatever opportunity we have. The root of the word kind is similar to the root of that for Kinder, which is the German word for child. Kin, family, is Old English, with the feeling of relatives for each other. That's what that means. This expression of kindness to family is the example we can expand to that for others we encounter in our immediate community. We are responsible for the experience that others have of us, how we show up, how we choose to relate to others, how we choose to react to them, and how we create our energy and share it. In Meditations of the Heart, Howard Thurman notes, community is the native climate of the human spirit. It is for this reason that we seem most our true selves when we are deeply involved in relations with other selves. And that's what we do here. Essentially, regardless of our worldly accomplishments, there can be no peace of mind until we establish an authentic sense of community with one another. Connection to one another is key. You can feel the connectedness with others. Imagine a cord between each of us, connecting all of us. It's a visceral sense, a feeling that becomes familiar. You start to become familiar with that energy. Emily Cady writes in How I Used Truth. She says, in Christ, or in the consciousness of the indwelling divine spirit, we know that every man and woman is our father and mother, brother and sister, that nothing is our own, but all is God's, because all is God. And Mother Teresa's quote, if we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to one another. So, a couple of examples of what kindness looks like and feels like. Start with a smile. Mother Teresa's quotes again, peace begins with a smile. Every time you smile at someone, it is an action of love, a gift to the person, a beautiful thing. Take a moment, connect, engage in some non-random, intentional acts of kindness, such as making eye contact and smile at the grocery checker. While sitting, I do that. They're like, okay, next, and I always wait, and I make sure they look at me, and I acknowledge them and say, hi, how are you doing today? And they're so shocked, that somebody would actually speak to them like a human being. It's really powerful. It's really, really powerful, just that split moment of connection. While sitting in traffic, smile at the stranger in the car next to you. Have any of you done that? Where you're both hanging, and you're looking over? One day, I don't have the right kind of driving sunglasses, so I had my driving glasses on, and then I had my sunglasses on top of it. It looked really ridiculous. And so I'm sitting there, and I kind of didn't care because, it was helpful. And I look over, and the gal in the car next to me had done exactly the same thing. She had her glasses and her sunglasses on top, and we both saw each other and just burst out laughing. Like, we look ridiculous. We acknowledged each other, Those are kind of little moments of magic, when you connect like that. Say hello to the person you pass on the sidewalk. Now, some people just don't, they're scared. So I do it anyway. Say excuse me when you step in front of someone. Teach your children and grandchildren to say excuse me when they ride their bike or skateboard on the sidewalk. This is one of my Mama Jane things, is, you're on the sidewalk and somebody comes, and they don't acknowledge, they don't say excuse me. There was one, I'm just going to tell little stories along the way here. I was on the sidewalk down on Duquesne, and a young man, probably about 12 or 13, had a skateboard, and he was coming fast. He saw me, he got off his skateboard, and he held his skateboard as he walked past me. And I said to him, I caught him, and I said, thank you so much. That means so much to me. Not as an old lady, but but just as a human being, to be acknowledging and respectful, These are all acts of kindness that we can think about as we go. Be an individualized expression of God. That's why we say that every single week. And then there's always the random acts. People talk about these random acts. Rooted in the inspiration and movement of the Divine Mother within, manifesting in the moment. So, for example, you can pay for the coffee of some of the groceries for the person behind you in line, anonymously pay for someone's meal in a restaurant, leave a thank you note for someone providing you a service, give someone else the parking space you've been waiting for. That feels really good to do that. Offer to help someone with their groceries, and there's a lot of opportunity for that at the grocery store. Offer your seat to someone on public transportation. That's another one that gets me. Expressions of not only the Divine Mother, but the grace and love from the Christ within, which is meant to be shared. And the most important thing about these acts is not expecting any acknowledgement that you've done them. That's the biggest takeaway, because that's your ego going, well, look at me, I just paid $10 for the person behind me. That is not the truth of who you are. That's your ego going, I need to be stroked. That is not the truth. That's not who we are. We give of love and grace and divinity because we know that we are one, period. The KIND movement is a coalition of organizations, as I mentioned, working together to inspire kindness in the world. So there are all these KIND products. There's KIND bars, KIND, we've seen those. In fact, I think when I gave this talk, I brought KIND bars for everyone. So I'm very sorry, I missed that. The KIND campaign is to bring awareness and healing to the negative effects of girl against girl bullying through global movement and educational curricula. Friends of the Dalai Lama is another one, and that's a path to world peace, is creating a culture of kindness in the schools. And then City of Culver City has been designated a city of kindness also. And there's another organization I've been recently exposed to called Kindness is Free. And they are wonderful. They've got really broad fingers into all the different communities, all of our communities in the schools, and it's a really wonderful program. So Tom Tate noticed make kindness contagious banners around the city of Anaheim. So where those came from is Dr. Chayefsky had a 6-year-old daughter who had passed, who always talked and wrote about kindness. And he knew that medicine could either treat symptoms or help to stimulate the body to heal itself from within. So Tate began thinking what a city is like a body. Healing from within can be achieved. Heal the city from within. The core value of kindness, and he ran on a platform of kindness and got elected. And at this time, he was the mayor of Anaheim. So let me see, so there were a number of these results from this. People are happier, knowing neighbors care for each other. There's a culture of kindness, overcoming anger and fear. And then the school district had 1 million acts of kindness. And then they had metrics to show these are all the kind of things that we're doing, which is counter to what I said before about you don't want acknowledgement, but but they were trying to show, hey, this is what's happening from within. We are healing from within by doing these things. And so, the intention of these programs is very pure, to expand awareness of community activities that generate kindness among its citizens. And of course, kindness, as I say, doesn't have to be measured. Mother Teresa, here's another one from Mother Teresa. She says, I am not sure exactly what heaven will be like, but I know that when we die and it comes time for God to judge us, he will not ask, how many good things have you done in your life? Rather, he will ask, how much love did you put into what you did? So we express Divine Mother through various acts of kindness because it feels good. It returns to you on many levels, maybe not right away, but it can come 20 years later, like it did for my father. Well, I guess it says in here to tell the story. So can I tell the story of my father real quick?
Yes.
Okay. So in 1973, at the age of 52, my father had a massive coronary at the World Trade Community Center in San Francisco, and it was 2 days before Thanksgiving. So at the hospital, my mother was approached by the man who had accompanied him to the hospital with the paramedics, and he told her this. He said, Mrs. Leonard, I saw your husband fall to the ground with a heart attack. No one was helping him. People were stepping around him, perhaps thinking he was a drunkard. But here's a man in a business suit with a briefcase, okay? But as I got closer to him, I recognized your husband to be John Leonard. 20 years ago, I had lost everything to alcoholism. My job, my family, everything. Your husband helped me to get a job and get back on my feet. I owe him my life. And if he had not helped my father get to the hospital on that day, we wouldn't have had a chance to say goodbye to him, because he did make his transition on Thanksgiving Day. So acts of kindness return to you. Acts of expressing the Divine Mother return to you. It might not be immediate. It might take 20 years. But we know the truth of this kind of activity in our being and expressing it. Pay it forward. Pay it forward. The flow of divine oil. That's another term for being kind and expressing the Divine Mother. We know that the divine flow of loving energy is a universal truth. It's an expression of the Divine Mother with its creation in divine mind. So we're all familiar with What Would Jesus Do, WWJD. This is WWDMD, What Would Divine Mother Do? So when faced with an opportunity to express a kindness or to show compassion or to take a moment to connect with someone, ask yourself, what would Divine Mother do? How can we manifest it not only randomly, but non-randomly through shifting our consciousness to one of natural expression of the Divine Mother within? And so with that, we can just be quiet for a moment and think about opportunities you may have already had today, and be aware of all the opportunities that you have in each moment going forward as representatives of Unity of the West Side, as that beacon of light that starts within you and radiates out, that connects with others, that knows that others are looking, are searching, are truth students in progress who are coming to Unity of the West Side to experience these messages and to know that they are in a community of like-minded souls and spirits who are growing and learning and expanding and being kind and compassionate. And so it is. Amen. Thank you.